Welcome back to Men with Issues. I want to tell you, Justin, the idea I had with the opening there was like it's chronological order. It's supposed to be,
I noticed.
because some of the pictures, like he's sitting in the desert, then he's sitting in the garden, and it's easy to not see where he's at. But that was the
Mhm.
idea. That was what I was doing right there.
I got you. I picked up what you was throwing down.
Okay. All right. I redid the outro, but it's just basically the Men with Issues logo. That's all it is. So that was
Yeah,
simpler, but that was the idea. So how's it going, bro?
going good, man. Going
It is
good.
going good. It's really good, actually. I mean, we had a great conversation before this show even got started.
Ain't that how it normally goes?
Yeah. The show should really take place from like 7:40 to 8:05.
Yeah,
Then the rambling starts at 8:07.
that's
Yeah.
right.
But let's go right into, because you had a great idea, man. Well, you had two great ideas. Actually, you had the idea to get the devotional. So if you want to explain that, you can. And you had another idea to start the show. So I'm just here now, helping you out.
Yeah, no, I wanted a devotional. I wanted something to keep me on track. Something daily to just to remember throughout my day, to reflect on. And when I got one, I reached out to you and I said, "Hey, you want one too? I'm gonna send you one too." So I sent Zach one too.
I was like, free devotional. Yes.
Yep. So been reading it, trying to keep up with it, and I think it helps me a lot.
I can see how it'd do that. Now this is your everyday devotional, I guess. I know we're using it
Mhm.
for the show too. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to use it every day too. I've been trying to read the New Testament through, and I'm on James. I haven't started it yet, but I'll go
Yeah.
back and each day and I'll start with this and maybe finish with going on with my regular reading.
Yeah. Well, and at the same time, it may throw you off. If you're trying to study, book by book in the New Testament or whatever you're doing, then maybe reading a devotional will also throw you off because it's gonna go back to Old Testament and all kinds of different stuff. So
I'll drop back 1,500 years or something and
yeah.
go back. But I think it's a great idea for the show, because I know a lot of times we're just doing what we're doing, but it gives us something that's like in stone every week that we can go to. So that's nice.
Yeah. Yes, Joe. That's a AR 14.75 back there.
AR 14.75. Huh? So close.
So close. That's a pistol, man. What are you talking about? That's not a rifle back there. That's a pistol.
I'm trying to understand that I'm looking at a pistol and a rifle.
That's two
And
pistols. Don't get it twisted, Zach. That's two pistols.
I'm
By
trying to,
law, by law, that is two pistols.
what are those? Those are headphones, or they're grenades with handles on them?
Oh yeah. No, that's ear protection.
I gotcha. No, I gotcha. Let me throw you off there, man. Go ahead with AR 13.72 or whatever you said it was.
So, but no, back to what we was talking about. Yeah, I just been trying to focus on doing better and reading when I can and being a better husband, being a better father, trying to lead by example. Because if you're not living the right way, then your kids and your wife definitely aren't going to. So
Yeah.
it starts with the leader of the house.
Yeah, that's the dude according to the book. And I've had some trouble with it and some good reports here. I mean, I've had, like I read to you beforehand, evidently my brother-in-law could tell that, through what we've been doing, through the reading that I've been doing, he's able to notice a change, which I don't take credit for the change. I'm saying it's the Lord working through me, but it's good to hear somebody say, notice a difference. I think that's a nice affirmation. Just like Paul wrote all those letters to all those churches saying good work. I felt like that was a letter written to me saying, all right, you're on the right track.
Mm-hmm.
But there's been some setbacks too. I mean, I'm not going to get into my children's personal affairs, but there's stuff that they do, which is troubling to say the least, which I'm still working on how to start with them. They're a little bit older than your kids, so there's a different set of issues, but I'm sure you have the same problem with trying to fire up uh, like 10, 11-year-olds for reading Bible and stuff like that. It must be difficult.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't want to.
Yeah, I think it's just with my kids anyway, which of course they're smaller, so a little bit at a time. I think you know you can't overwhelm them because they're just going to be lost and they don't understand. You got to put it in terms that they can understand. So that's been tough for me, especially with stuff that even maybe me, you and I don't understand, and you just live off of faith that it's not being able to explain it, but you have faith that it's so. It's really hard to explain to a 8 or 9 year old, how that happens or whatever.
Yeah. I can imagine with some of the stuff, especially the last book of Hebrews. I don't know that I could see an 8 or 9-year-old even understanding what was going on in the book. Some of it was so intricate, and I had to read some of the passages 2 and 3 times just to make sure I had it straight. And I don't know if I had it completely straight. I'm gonna keep on reading it, but I can imagine. I guess you had to kind of paraphrase or maybe get like a child's devotional or something like that. Just work like that.
Yeah, like even the most simplest stuff can be challenging to explain. Like my son, we were leaving church today, and we were driving down the road heading back home, and he said, I don't know where he comes up with these questions in his head, but he said, if Jesus were still alive, how old would he be? And I guess I guess I really threw him off by saying he is still alive.
Oh,
You know what I
man.
mean? So then that just opened up the wormhole to a bunch of different questions, and it's really hard to explain to an 8-year-old.
Oh man, I think of all those iconic things that like people say, and you think that turn around like Jesus is life. It's like what are you talking about? He's the
Yeah.
way. It's like what? What are you doing? He was there when the whole thing. That was something that I forget where I read it. Maybe it was Timothy, where it says he's been here since the beginning of everything.
Mhm.
So I mean, it
Yeah.
wasn't like it was an afterthought, a plan that came along like after Moses. It was always the plan.
Mhm.
That's what's wild about it to me. I mean, you had all this, you had like thousands of years of this whole law in place, and the whole time you knew that eventually he was going to come along. And
Yeah.
that's it. It's just wild how intricate the plan can be. But I don't know how you explain that to a 9-year-old. That's
Yeah.
tough. I guess you got to keep it really. I don't know what you do, to be
Yeah.
honest.
Yeah. You just the way with mine anyway, I just try to keep it as basic as I can. And let them know that, God loves them and what he does for us. And, as they get older, try to get more in depth with them understanding, but I just don't want to overwhelm them.
Yeah, I know. I'm still working on that. I've got to reach my kids. I feel like that I've made a lot of inroads spiritually, but I know the job is not anywhere near complete. And there's a
Mm-hmm.
major piece missing because I am the head of house spiritually. And I feel like my wife is starting to make inroads toward reattaching or reforming that relationship with Christ. Not to say that
Mm-hmm.
she lost it, but I haven't seen her pursue it in a long
Yeah.
time. And I have, same thing for myself, but I feel like that's starting again. And I feel like it's like a snowball because my oldest son, I feel like I could reach him and maybe through him reach the 2 younger twins who are out in left field half the time.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. And we was talking about it before the show. My wife's doing the same thing. She's reading her Bible every night and uh, getting more involved with stuff. And I not that I give God the credit, but I feel like, us going to church regularly again, us doing stuff like this, talking about it more with the kids has gotten her, more involved with it.
Yeah.
So
That's great. No, I think it's fantastic. You're right though. It is God working through us, and that's something that I try to put myself in check on because I read something, and I've read through a lot of books here, and I'm trying to remember which one's which. But I know it was Paul talking about whenever you're establishing a church, be wary when you're picking the elders. Don't pick the younger people who are new to the faith because they get puffed up and conceited about it. And I was like, I got to make sure because I'm feeling really like awesome about this stuff. I don't want to
mhm.
wrap up in thinking that, hey, look what I'm doing when it's nothing to do with me. Although I know that I'm going to fight that battle, just knowing who I am.
Yeah.
So I won't be leading the church anytime soon, basically. Just learn to live correctly and just, I guess
That's right.
it's a handful right now.
I think the important part is staying in the Bible, because it's really easy to. 'Cause I'm guilty of this. I read the Bible at a young age, and you quit reading the Bible. Life starts happening. You start doing other things, and next thing you know, you've forgotten everything that you read. And you start living worldly, and you have your opinions of things, and before you know it, you're being negative about things you shouldn't be negative about, and you forget all the stuff in here that tells you exactly how you should be living your life, and how you should look at things.
For some reason, I think the world is built, and I guess it's Satan at work giving you excuses to get as far away from this stuff as possible every day.
Mm-hmm.
So I put up a thing on my personal Zach Ciota YouTube channel, asked, do you believe that Satan is real? These people over there on there don't know what's going on that channel. They're like, what's he asking us that for? but whatever. I put it up there because sometimes I just like to throw it in there and mix it up a little bit with some of this stuff. Yeah. And I mean, 2/3 of them said yes, but a third of them said no. They wasn't even real. And I think that's, you always hear that about the devil, saying he makes you believe he doesn't exist. He gives you excuses to become secular and apathetic. And I think it's worked beautifully, especially in our current society.
Yeah.
If you can say that works beautiful, but just, if you got a plan, I guess his plan's working in that way. But I don't know if he's read to the end of the Bible, but he loses. So I don't know what he's thinking is going to happen. And I remember watching, you ever seen the movie Devil's Advocate with Keanu Reeves and Al Pacino?
Yeah, a long time ago.
Oh my gosh. It's a trippy movie. I actually enjoyed the movie because it just makes you think. It may not be accurate altogether, but Keanu Reeves is the son of Satan. He's creating a son so he can create the Antichrist, basically. That's the movie.
Yeah.
And he's asking his dad, he says, why are we bothering with this? Have you read the Bible? We lose. And Al Pacino's like, consider the source, son. And he's pointing up at the sky. It's like, I don't know about that. I don't know if that's
right. This was kind of a different way of thinking. And it obviously I don't know it to be true, but in the movie, I don't remember if it's in Tribulation or if it's in Revelation. One of the Christian movies from back in the early 2000s. That same argument comes up in the movie, and it's basically a Christian questioning the devil. Why are you even doing this? You're going to lose. What happens, and basically what the devil says in that movie is that I know that, but everyone that I win is one less for him, and that's his ultimate goal.
Oh wow. So it's like crash and burn, but take as many people with you as you can.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's an interesting whole premise there. That doesn't even matter if he does win. It's almost like not to compare to something, but like a suicide bomb.
Yeah. The hatred for God is so high that his goal is just to take as many as he can down with him.
Well, I think that he's actually doing quite a sufficient job of shifting things over to either follow, not necessarily following him, but just not following God, not believing in anything, just going through life every day and being more concerned with what's on television than anything godly out there. That's what I see. But, I mean, that was me too, not too long ago. So, I mean, the people are reachable evidently, because here I am. So,
yeah. Well, we had a guest preacher this morning at church, and one of the things he said this morning, which got me thinking, was people get so detached from the truth that you have atheists that are bashing God and bashing Christians, that that they falsely believe in something, yada yada yada. Little do they know that God's the one that gives them the breath to even speak those things.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, it's just like I said, they're so detached from reality. It's just, they can't even fathom the fact that they were created by something. I guess they're convinced themselves they were created by, at random. I guess we can get back into that again, but where they believe that happens is a much stranger theory, I think, than say that God created them.
Yeah. But I guess the thing that's kind of got me more involved with stuff is, like you said, the world we live in, the craziness, the politics, the hatred, the divide, all these things. And being a father, you're never going to completely get your kids away from that, right? I mean, they go to school, they watch TV, unless you're just going to, check out off the grid and live in the woods or something, your kids are going to be exposed to these things. So what do? It's not right for me to talk politics or talk hatred or all this stuff in front of my kids, because it's not a good example. So I think I've tried to focus on, teaching my kids to just love everybody and, know that God loves them and do what he says to do.
Well, that's what I was telling my daughter earlier, because I said I had like half an hour in the car. We were driving home from getting some. We went to the hibachi restaurant. It's fantastic. Oh my gosh! Thank God for hibachi. I'm gonna tell you that much right now. It was fantastic. But I said, well, I have about 30 minutes with her in the car, so I was trying to get as much discussion in as possible and have her ask me questions, because she's been like out in left field about some stuff. It's one of them things where we fall into the category, well, if people, they're not hurting anybody, they love each other no matter what type it is, why can't it happen? Why can't it happen? And just trying to explain some of that stuff, you have to have some sort of foundation. I mean, I know the Bible says Jesus is the foundation. You build on that, you have something that can last. But if you don't build on that foundation, you don't have anything. It's like building on sand or something like that.
Yeah.
So I was telling her, for things you have, like you want to talk about marriage, then you're going to go back. We're not going to say any, we're not bashing anything, but I'm just saying, when you talk about marriage, you go back into Genesis, it'll declare. I mean, it's like the very first few pages of the Bible. It talks about a man and a woman coming together. I mean, it's obvious right there at the start. And I said, Mallory, this is a biblical principle. Marriage didn't come from, someone didn't invent it 200 years ago or 1,000 years ago or 2,000 years ago. From the beginning of this whole creation, it has been established. So how can you say it's something else when it's already established as something? It's like you want to change a word into your own meaning. It just doesn't work like that. And I don't know how far I got with her. I said, Mallory, do you have any questions? Can I answer anything? She asked me a couple of things, and I tell her what I'd read so far about what it said. And hopefully it sticks in there somewhere. But I feel like we're going to be going around a few more rounds.
Yeah.
Probably. But I don't know. I don't know how much you had to deal with stuff like that. I know your kids are younger. My kids they're in middle school and high school. They'll all be in high school next year, except for Jackson. And they have this set of problems, and they are pushed on by all sides by this godlessness, to say the least. So it's tough. It's like it's a 1 or 2 man battle, counting my wife, against this sort of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the biggest influence on my kids is just television, honestly. There's so much garbage on there. Even kids shows, man. I walked back there the other night that, they had fell asleep with the TV on, and I'm trying to remember the show. I think it was Henry Danger was the name of it.
I don't know about it.
And there was a, quote unquote villain that, during that episode, because I stood there and watched it for like 5 minutes because I could not believe what I was seeing. The bad guy in that particular episode that they were fighting against or whatever, he was clearly gay. I mean, clearly. Makeup, eyeshadow, glittery crap on his eyes, talking like a gay guy. And it just blew my mind that they have stuff like that on children's television. And the only way I can wrap my head around it is they're trying to make it normal. They're trying to make it acceptable and normal. And so the way they do that is they just incorporate it in everything that they do on television. They look at it as, equality or, involving a certain type of person and all these different things. And, we just don't believe that way. I don't say that you shouldn't love that person. I'm not saying that you should be judgmental towards that person. But we don't believe that that's okay. And I'm not going to teach my kids that that's okay.
What a war to fight with your children whenever they see it on a daily basis. And
Mhm.
you have to take a stance, because in the end, I think we have to take a stance on this stuff, because I don't think anyone else will. And I don't think half the
Right.
Christians will, because either they don't have the stomach for it, or maybe they don't even believe it. And I don't know, we call them Christians. Let's say church going people. Some of them don't even believe the stuff anyway. At the
Yeah.
Methodist church where we go, our pastor was upset because he went to the Methodist conference, and there's a whole bunch of homosexual pastors now, and they wear like
Yeah.
rainbow colored pastor garb. I don't know what you call the pastor, what they wear, but and I hate to say
I
it, but that's just not possible. That can't be
Yeah.
possible.
I can't fathom that. I mean, you wanna look at that person and go, "Have you read the Bible?" Like, well, where do you get that that's okay? I can't fathom it.
I told my children, I said, you have to pick what you believe. You can pick the Bible and follow the Bible. I think it's the right way. I'm going to try to lead you that way. But in the end, you have to pick what you're going to believe. But you can't pick the Bible and then do half of it. You either pick the Bible and do it all and take it for what it's worth, or you pick whatever else you're going to do. But I'm gonna try to lead you toward the Bible. I mean,
Mhm.
that's what I think is right. But I mean, it's almost like, to me, it's almost worse to masquerade as Christian and then don't follow through with it. And that's what I'm
Yeah.
trying to avoid myself doing. But I
Yeah.
didn't know what to do until I read the stuff. So I mean, if you don't read the stuff, you don't know what the truth is.
Yeah. Yeah,
What a
I
mess.
think that's probably a big part there is you have to be actively engaged in reading the Bible. You
Yeah.
have to, continue to familiarize yourself with what it says because it's easy to not, you know, refer to the Bible and say, you shouldn't do this or you shouldn't do that. Like all the why to all of it is in here.
Mhm.
You just have to read it. If you have questions, you read it. And I don't feel like enough people do that. They feel like they have an understanding of everything they're supposed to do as a Christian, and they don't.
I'm trying to find some of the Paul's letters. Paul does a great job when he writes these letters. He writes these letters to the different churches he visited, for people who are listening who may not know. He writes these letters, and he's writing the letters to encourage them, and he says to encourage himself, because I guess Paul went through a whole lot of stuff on his travels,
Hmm.
from being out there after he was basically transformed on the road to, I want to say it was Damascus,
Hmm.
maybe Damascus. That sound right?
Yep.
And he became Christian, and he became, I mean, a warrior for God. Basically, he was going everywhere, and then trying to convert as many people and establish as many churches. So he wanted a little bit of encouragement too. He wrote these letters, and it's basically almost like he was giving them instructions on, you know, what the gospel meant. Because I guess it's interesting, because at this time, it wouldn't be something we can just grab a book and read, because it just happened. It was happening
Yeah.
right then. So I mean, they had to get the word from people like Paul, and it's just interesting to read it, what they would have read, because like you said in Colossians, the chapter you were talking about, chapter 3,
Hmm.
and it says, in my Bible it says, "Put on the new self," is what it says, and mine was uh, ESV, English Standard Version. We were talking about different versions beforehand.
Yeah.
Mine says it like this. It says, "If then you have been raised with Christ, seek the things that are above, where Christ is, seated at the right hand of God. Set your minds on things that are above, not on things that are on earth. For you have died, and your life is hidden with Christ in God. When Christ, who is your life, appears, then you will appear with him in glory. Then you will also appear with him with glory." And the next part kind of addresses what we were talking about. "Put to
Yeah.
death, therefore, what is earthly to you: sexual immorality, impurity, passion, evil desire, covetousness, which is idolatry. On
Hmm.
account of these is the wrath of God is coming." I just think that just encapsulates it right there. And I never
Hmm.
thought of idolatry as you could, and I just learned this just kind of reading and listening to some of the lectures that I've listened to. It could be a
Yeah.
person. It doesn't have to be like a golden calf. It can be like your husband or wife you hold higher than God, or a television show, or a band you listen to, or anything like that. So
Yeah.
I thought that was wild.
Yeah. That's like I was telling you earlier. One of the things we were, talking about in church this morning. The message was about, you have all this divide right now between black people and white people, and Democrats and Republicans and liberals and this and that, and this person loves Joe Biden, this person hates Joe Biden, or they have something to say about the old administration and all this stuff. All that stuff's irrelevant. You should be loving everybody. What is it? Let's see, verse 12 in Colossians chapter 3, verse 12. Therefore, as God's chosen people, holy and dearly loved, clothe yourself with compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience. Boy, that's hard to do.
Man, that would solve a lot of problems. We could all do that one.
Yeah. So, the message was just basically quit focusing on everything else going on and focus on loving. If you truly want to unite, live by these words and do what God has told you to do, and focus on loving other people. Another thing he was talking about this morning, which made a lot of sense, he said people want to put God on a shelf until they need him or they want something.
Mm-hmm.
And then they want to pray about it. And it's funny how we always pray about stuff for us, right? About about what we want, about, about bills or this or that, or our children, or all this stuff. When's the last time you prayed for the well-being of somebody, for somebody else, or for someone else to have blessings? It's always about what we want, right?
Right.
And basically what he was saying this morning was, you ever think maybe you're not getting anything is because you're so focused on yourself instead of wanting good for somebody else. If we would focus on doing good deeds towards other people, and being a servant for his ministry, if we'd focus on those things, the blessings, in other words, you get a blessing out of serving other people. Your life will begin to change when you stop focusing on yourself and you focus on loving people.
I started to think about just what you're saying while I try to pray every day. In fact, I have a thing on my phone that has like a scheduling app or something that I had to check things off if I finish them. And I put it down there and I try to do it every day. And a thought crossed my mind, just like you're talking about. It's like your pastor was talking about. It's like God has his will that needs to be done. So if I pray for something, isn't it just the right thing to pray that his will is carried out in whatever way that needs to be done? I mean, that might cause me some harm. I mean, it might cause me misery. But if that's what needs to happen, then I guess that's what needs to happen. I mean, I prayed that my son's ankle would heal so he could do his soccer, which he loves so much. I try to do just what you're saying because I noticed that the first few times, especially, God, I need this. God, I need that. God, I need, and I realized that this is not right at all. And I agree with you totally because his will might put you through a tough. I mean, look at these people we're talking about. Paul, he suffered more than anybody else besides probably Christ in the Bible.
Yeah.
And I mean, he was happy to do it. I mean, because he knew where he was going. I mean, if you know where you're going, I mean, I guess that gives you the metaphorical light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak. But I mean, if you don't think you're going anywhere, I mean, I think I'd probably think more inwardly about myself too, probably.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, even when you first get saved, it's about you want him to be your Lord and Savior, and his will be done and all these things. And then we go right into praying about selfish things, about ourselves. Heal me from this, help me with this. I'm struggling with this. It's about me, instead of what his will to be done is in your life. People pray about, I really need to get this job. I really want to get this new job or whatever. And then, they don't get it. And they, some people may blame God because they don't see, they're not getting what they want when really maybe that's not what they were intended to do.
Yeah. And maybe what they want is behind something else that they need to go through first. And because they don't understand the plan, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I obviously don't understand the inner workings of God's plan because it's so complicated. The human mind can't understand it.
Yep.
I guess we're just along for the ride. And I said, just God, take me with you along for the ride. And just let's all end up in the same spot. Maybe that'd be a goal.
Yeah. What is it, that saying? I think I've said it before. I forget who said it or whatever, but he said, if we could understand the infinite God in our little 2-pound brain, he wouldn't be much of a God worth worshiping.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Because I had questions. I had questions that the Bible needed to answer because I didn't know, because I was ignorant to the Bible. And I have questions still about how the law became, how the law in the Old Testament is going to transfer to the New Testament, because I haven't read the Old Testament except for Genesis within the last 10 years. I read Genesis to my kids. That's about it. And then we fell out of that because my heart wasn't in it. And I don't know what the reason it is, why we gave up on that. But I know that this time it's going to stick. I'm just trying to figure out the best way to do it. But there's so many spots in my mind that I don't have filled in yet because I don't know any of that stuff. And it's kind of exciting because it's like going to read it for the first time. I'm really excited about that. I'm also scared because I'm worried I won't understand it. I'll just be honest with you. Some of the stuff is hard for me to understand. I got to read it a few times, but I just want to make sure I understand what he's trying to say. But that is a fear that's in my mind, because some of the stuff I read is like, what, what does that mean? But Hebrews was like that. Hebrews was like, all that fun Paul reading was over. It's like Hebrews starts. It's like, what is a? And it referenced back to and probably part of it referenced back to the Old Testament quite a bit, and it's referencing back to stuff I had no idea what it was. Yeah. So part of me was like, why don't you read the Old Testament first, Zach? I was like, well, I wanted to learn about Jesus, man. That's inward conversation. I don't know, but that's one of the things that I hope for, just a clear understanding of what I'm reading.
Yeah. And I hope people understand that's listening, that it's not sitting here saying that obviously I'm not sitting here living this to a T. This is a goal to be more like this. You can never achieve it if you don't set it as a goal. So just trying to get better every day. I fall short daily. I fail at being a good husband and being a good father on a daily basis. I slip up and do things I shouldn't do, or say things I shouldn't do. But if you're not striving to be better, then you're never going to get anywhere.
Yeah. Being a father, that's one of the hardest things, I think. And right after your chapter, actually in your chapter 3, it says, children, obey your parents. This is chapter 3 of Colossians, verse 20 or verse 19. We'll go back a little bit. Husbands, love your wives and do not be harsh with them. Children, obey your parents and everything, for this pleases the Lord. Fathers, do not provoke your children lest they become discouraged. And I was thinking to myself, man, I provoke my kids a lot. Working on my temper and my reaction to some of the things they do because they are children. It's a weakness in me that I get reminded about daily, just like you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough, but I guess the more I think about it, the more I try to do better, because at the end of the day, I'm their teacher, right? So if I don't do my best to teach them about God, then once they become an adult and they go off into the world and stuff, if they start living a worldly life outside of God, that makes me feel like I've failed as a father because I haven't taught them correctly. Now, ultimately, at that point, they're an adult and they're going to make their own decisions. But I feel like it's my responsibility to set the foundation. So,
we had a discussion earlier. It's funny that you mentioned that, because we were talking about free will earlier in the car. And everybody has free will as part of this whole thing. And I was talking to Mallory about this. So here's what I think, and let me know what you think about this. It says everyone has free will, and you're pulled upon by different sources. You're offered Jesus Christ as a way for eternal life. You're being risen from the dead. You have a lifetime with Christ. And to me, that's okay. I'm sold. That's good. That's good enough for me. But people are getting tugged on other directions. They're watching the TV shows. They're watching the devil at work. So you have people going either way. It just depends on who's influencing them and what time of their life it is. So they have free will to go wherever they want. But to me, and okay, this is the part where maybe you can help me. The Lord knows the outcome of the choices but he doesn't make the choices. Does that sound correct to you?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just speculating here because to me, if you're omnipotent, you know what's going to happen. It's because it's not that you force someone to make a choice, it's that you are aware in advance of the choices they are going to make.
Mhm.
Therefore, this whole plan comes together. Because if Jesus had been around since, like I said, yesterday, today, forever,
Mhm.
he knew about this at creation. He knew what he was going to do. So he must have
Yep.
known every choice and every plan along the way.
He knows the choice that you're going to make 10 years from now on your own free will, whether it be good or bad. In other words, that's what you're
Right.
saying. And in other words, ultimately it is your choice, but he already knows what you're going to do.
Absolutely. To me, now you have a conversation with, does that still mean it's free will? To me, yes. I think it is still free will. He's just an omnipotent, like Joe was saying, he isn't bound by time. And let me put that up here because I have the power to put that up there. Joe says he isn't bound by the time. We can't comprehend that. And I want to take a second because Joe is here, Joe Shearer. Joe, you did a great thing when you turned me on to Matt Slick. I've read so many Matt Slick Facebook articles about the only good thing on Facebook, and it's cleared up so much stuff. And I just want to thank you for that. That was great. So, more nuggets from Joe. He looks at our future, same as our past and present. I can't understand that. I know that he has a way, and that's my best way to kind of rationalize it to myself because I'm trying to understand because I'm trying to put the pieces together. And if the pieces don't make sense to me, I have a hard time putting them together, obviously. So that's my best shot at that.
Well, Zach, I just, from the outside looking in, and I struggle with it too, but I think at some point there is going to be things that you don't understand. And that, just like we've talked about before, that's where faith comes in. You have to have faith, because if everything was set in stone and laid out there for everybody to understand, you wouldn't need faith.
That's absolutely true. That's absolutely true. And you're right. The part that I don't have any qualms about is the fact that I understand that Jesus came along and died for all the sins. That I got an ironclad grip on. So you're absolutely right. I appreciate that.
No.
Thanks, Justin.
Hey, you're welcome.
Hey, bro, I'm just gonna go be saved. I'm gonna be saved and relaxing. But here's something else I thought maybe you can help me with this too. I consider myself new to this, even though I've been around it all my life. I consider this part of it new.
Yeah.
At what point do you think you go out and you try to affect other people with this stuff? And how do you do it? That's a question I have. How do you do it? How in your face do you get?
As far as when, I see nothing wrong with trying to influence people, day one.
Yeah.
Regardless, I guess what you're asking is, at what point, knowledge wise from the Bible, should you start to talk about Jesus, I guess, with other people is what you're getting at.
Yeah. I mean, here we are right now. We're talking about some of the stuff. Maybe I run into a person in my everyday life. Dave, if I mean, you know me, you know where I'm at. Do I go up there and talk to him? Do I wait till I know more?
No, I think you should. Obviously you can only speak on what you know, or you should only speak on, I should say, what
That's
you
a good,
know.
that's a good correction. I like that. Don't keep talking.
Only speak on what you've read and that to be true. And if there's ever a question about something that you're not sure on, then all you can do is refer back to the Bible and find the answer.
Man, look at your Bible. Look at that thing.
It's wore out, man.
I got a new one, man. You look at that thing. That is a cool looking Bible. That's a neat looking one. I like that. That's pretty cool.
I got a brand new one over here in the box, but I can't let go of this one yet.
I don't blame you, man. I
like this one.
Now, if years from now, if I'm talking about getting a new Bible, I have all my marks and stuff in here. I'm going to be hard to let that sucker go. I want to see all the marks I made when I read through it originally and know what I was thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that's good stuff. See, I consider you, because the Bible said rely on people that have been in the faith with experience, and that doesn't mean an older person.
Yeah.
You've read through the thing before. I never have, not the
Yeah.
whole thing. So, I mean, I have to rely on you for some of this information, which I appreciate.
Yeah, and I am I am no Bible scholar. I will be the first to tell you that.
I should have made a banner on the screen. We are not Bible scholars.
When you read this 15 plus years ago and haven't read it since, other than here and there for specific things, you forget 80%. You have to continue to refresh yourself. Otherwise, you just kind of drift away, I think. So I'm nowhere near no scholar, know exactly how you should live your life. I think you ask God, if you have questions about something, or just know that, ultimately he's working for good. So,
yeah, I have to agree with Joe here. If a man's Bible's falling apart, that means his life's in good shape.
yeah,
It means he's been consulting his Bible. And while we're talking, I did spot some of the things we talked about earlier. And couldn't remember where it was at. 2 Timothy, we're talking about what you should be concentrating on and what you should be letting go. And I'm just going to read this really quick. It says, a good soldier for Christ Jesus is chapter 2 of 2 Timothy. It says, you then, my child, be strengthened by the grace that is Christ Jesus, and what you have heard from me in the presence of many witnesses, and trust to faithful men who will be able to teach others also. Share in suffering as a good soldier of Christ Jesus. No soldier gets entangled in civilian pursuits, since his aim is to please the one who enlisted him. An athlete is not crowned unless he competes according to the rules. It is the hardworking farmer who ought to have the first share of the crops. Think over what I say, for the Lord will give you understanding in everything. And I mean, I just know every part of life, from going to the kids' ball games, and it's maybe especially the kids' ball games. I always think about this. All those people that are yelling at each other all the time, thinking, why are we doing this? This is a children's ball game. And I don't know why this is the example, but I just thought of it because we were at these things, and people, these Christians, we played a Christian academy, and their behavior was atrocious. I mean, they were screaming and yelling and being vulgar. I was thinking, why are we doing this over children's sports? And there's not the way we're acting more important than the sport itself, really, on many levels. It disappointed me. I'm trying to work on that for myself, because I haven't been stellar at that my whole life either. But I'm trying to work on that.
Yeah,
temper issue from time to time.
I'm just, I'll be the first to tell you, I fell away for a long time. Just getting wrapped up in worldly stuff, and raising kids and being a husband and work and this and that, and I've not always made the best choices. I've done a lot of crappy stuff that I'm not proud of, but all you can do is ask for forgiveness about it.
Yeah. When I think about the list of stuff that I've done, I'm like you. It makes my skin crawl. It's not good. It's not a good list of stuff. I mean, it's a good thing though. I mean, that tells people that no matter where you're at in life, no matter what you've done, and that's a good thing about Christianity, no matter where you are and how awful the things is you've done, there's always a new beginning if you want it.
Yeah.
It's
and one of the things I'm thankful for is that I was raised in church, and I had a good foundation prior to becoming an adult. So as stupid as I got, as worldly as I got, when everything started crashing, I knew where to turn. So I'm thankful for having that foundation from my childhood, and it's unfortunate that there's so many kids nowadays, especially in the world we're living in now, that are being raised with no foundation in Christ whatsoever. So that's going to be, I feel like that's a really hard hill to climb when you start talking to somebody like that about God, if they're 30 years old and never been involved in church or Christ whatsoever. That's a tough one there.
I don't even know what you do, because just explaining, well, there's the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost, and the guy's like, oh, there's a ghost too? Sure. Yeah, this is real. Obviously.
Yeah.
I mean,
because think about it. Think about, people, I say our age, you're older than me, but a lot of people our age or older have some knowledge of the Bible and church and how they should live their life or how Jesus tells them they should live their life. So it's not something new. They've heard it before. Imagine a kid that grows up in a household with zero exposure to the Bible or to God. That they would most likely, look at that more as conspiracy theory stuff more than fact.
Yeah, superstition or supernatural.
Supernatural superstition. I guess not conspiracy theory. That's not the right term for it.
Well,
more
no,
superstition.
I could see it too. If you have billions of people doing the same thing, you'd be like, these people just want to get our tithes. You get those kind of people; they're just trying to get tithes. Look at this pastor driving a sports car. That's where you get that sort of appraisal, I think.
Yeah, and that's where you have to remember where you're going to have that. That is man using the church for their benefit.
Yeah.
So
there's been several TV shows on that, and TV will definitely catch up on that if a pastor is falling short, and because you're not supposed to have riches in this life, like you're saying, the riches come later. You're supposed to give away and help people and stuff like that. And when you see a pastor that's retaining all this wealth, I mean, that's what's going to be on TV. Every time I see a show that's, I won't even say Christian based, about maybe like an evangelist or a pastor, it almost always is a guy that's money hungry, that's in love of money.
And I'm not saying that God won't, it's impossible for God to bless you with, a lot of things. I heard Jerry Clower. Are you familiar with Jerry Clower?
I know the name Jerry Clower, but I'm not familiar. No.
Christian comedian. He's dead now. He's been dead for years. But I heard him say one time that he was talking about tithing and how he regularly tithes like he's supposed to, and this and that. And he said a woman come up to him one time and said, well, Mr. Clower, if we all made the money that you do, we'd be able to tithe every Sunday too. And his response to her was, ma'am, I tithe the same back when I was a fertilizer salesman and I had nothing, but I was faithful in tithing. And so God found me faithful with a little, and now he's blessed me with a bunch. And I think I think there's some truth in that.
Yeah, there's rich, godly people in the Bible for sure. Yeah. But I don't know. Maybe it's something where you see someone that's wealthy, and then you see someone with an extravagant excess or an extravagant lifestyle. That's like I don't want to say surplus, because I'm not one of these people that think you should take rich people's money and give it to poor people against their will. I really don't believe in that. I don't believe in that for governments. I don't believe in that for that.
Right.
But I do believe that if you're someone that is a pastor or a preacher and you have an excess of money, you probably shouldn't be buying like a bunch of sports cars or like a 15-bedroom mansion. Yeah, absolutely. Because if your heart is in that spot, then wouldn't you want to? There's so many people you can help out there, or so many ways you can grow your ministry instead of grow your house. I don't understand. But I don't know specifically how you discern that from one pastor to the next, which one's deserving of that. I don't know. But I think if I was a pastor, I would hopefully live in a single life and give my money away. Maybe that's it.
And I guess one of the things is one of the biggest blessings is being, is giving.
Yeah.
And you should be, especially if you've got tons of money and stuff, you should be wanting to give. That should be a blessing for you, to want to help other people out. So I don't know. Yeah, I have a hard time with seeing some of the, television pastors and stuff like that. I think, don't get me wrong, I think they probably have a good foundation, but they have lost track of this and what God tells them to do, what Jesus tells them to do. They've kind of lost their way and got wrapped up in the world.
Yeah. Maybe this is a subject we could talk about. Maybe we can pick up on some more of this next week, because I know I want to remind you, don't forget about this, because
yeah.
That was your idea. We get
Well,
fired up. I want to talk about the like TV pastors and some of the ways that people convey God's message, and maybe we can
yeah.
discuss that next week.
Okay. Well, I'll let you read this week's devotional. Hey, I read last week, bud.
All right. All right. Let me open her up. I'm writing conveys message for next week. All right. I don't mind reading. I can read it. I might not understand it, but I can read it out. I think I can understand this because devotional is pretty good at breaking things down.
Today's is pretty straightforward. So
yeah, this is I guess February the 7th. It's called The Mighty Fins. It's Isaiah chapter 37 verses 30 through 38 is where this is centered anyway. And this is Isaiah chapter 37 verse 20. It says, "Now, Lord our God, deliver us from his hand, so that all the kingdoms of the earth may know you, Lord, our only God." Isaiah 37:20. Says when, and this is the story that goes along with it, guys. I'll try to put it up on the screen next time, but there's a verse at the top, and then it has the actual story below it. It says when enemy tanks and thousands of opposing infantrymen invaded Finland, things looked bleak. Assessing the murderous wave through an anonymous Finn, though an anonymous Finn, maybe I do need to learn how to read. Though an anonymous Finn wondered aloud about the enemy. Where will we find room to bury them all? I just think that's gutsy right there. Where are we going to bury them all? I don't know. Where are we going to bury ourselves? Yeah. Some 2,600 years before Finland showed such courage in that World War II battle, an anxious Judean citizenry reacted quite differently.
Differently.
Oh my gosh. Are you kidding me? I just read stuff earlier from the Bible. Okay. All right. We're starting that paragraph over and we're going to suffer through this together.
Okay.
Some 2,600 years before Finland showed such courage in World War II, that World War II battle, an anxious Judean citizenry reacted quite differently to their own overwhelming situation. Assyrian armies had trapped the people of Jerusalem inside its walls where things looked hopeless. Hezekiah nearly panicked, but then he prayed, "Lord Almighty, you alone are God over all the kingdoms of the earth." That's Isaiah 37, verse 16. The Lord answered with strong words for Assyria's king, and I'm not even trying that.
Okay? Big long word, guys. Big long word.
I'm going to go with Sennacherib, and we're going to go with that. Maybe one of you guys can help me with that. Send me a voice message.
It kind of looks like a king Sennacherib.
Sennacherib, Sennacherib. Against whom have you raised your voice and lifted your eyes in pride? Against the Holy One of Israel. I will defend this city and save it, said the Lord, who defeated Sennacherib and destroyed the Assyrian army. And I read the passage. He destroyed like 185,000 man army. No matter what dangers loom today, God will reign. He longs to hear from each of us and show himself powerful. There's another trust in God moment. No, that's pretty important. And we've been talking about that a lot at my house about things might seem hopeless and you have so much worry. And my wife is the biggest one with this. She worries about everything. She stresses about everything. I said, we just got to learn how to give this stuff to God. It's just not say we're giving it to God like the people at church say, to actually give it to God. So we're working on that.
Yeah. And that can be tough to do. I mean, we're all guilty of that. You know, we know what we're supposed to do. You're supposed to give it to God and forget about it. Move on.
Yeah.
No, trust that he's going to take care of it. But it's not that easy, right? You know, at least for most of us, it's you pray about it, you want to give it to God, but you're not just going to stop thinking about it. You know, you continue to worry about it, which is that's not what you're supposed to do.
It's I guess it's the faith. It's your faith shakes, especially when it matters a whole lot. Like I'll just give you an example that I've thought about in the last few days. For Shop Talk, we have a set of like 6 sponsors that help sponsor the show. That how I make my living. Well, one of them might be leaving this month, so I'm trying to give that to God. Say, well, we need to replace this. So I pray to God and say, Lord, please help me replace this sponsor so we can continue, providing for my family as I have thus far. I'm trying to do that the best I can. I tend to worry about this stuff because I come from a spot where at one point we lost everything. We're not at a point where we're losing everything. I want to say that, but
Yeah.
I was at a point where I have lost everything, and I never want to go back there ever. I just don't want to go back and experience that pain again. So it always hits me hard when something like this happens, and it happens periodically. I mean, people come and go. I mean, it's part of the business. But something I'm trying this month is just make sure I give it to God, and see what He does, and see how He solves the problem, or see where He takes me. Maybe He doesn't give us another sponsor. Maybe it's somewhere else I'm supposed to go. I don't know, but that's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah. Well, just I know it's hard to do, but I think definitely give it to Him and know that His will be done in it. Because if you continue to worry about it and ponder on it and all those things, do you really have faith that God is in control of it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Have you truly given it to Him if you continue to worry about it? And I'm not saying that's easy. That's I'm guilty just like you are. You know what I mean? But I'm just saying.
I think you're right, though.
That's what we should be trying to do.
I think when we continue to inject ourselves into the problem solving process after we say we give it to God, I think that's where we're trying to undermine God's own will. And man, and that sounds horrible. Like, well, we're never doing that. But as soon as you get into one of these situations where there's a lot on the line, you start that faith starts shaking a little bit. I said, I don't know. What if God doesn't want to, help me out in this situation? Maybe there's a different plan. I don't want to do that. It doesn't matter what you want to do. I guess you better go where God wants to go, because it ain't like you're going to go the other way, wherever you want to go. And you don't understand the path. I mean, that's what I'm struggling with. That's what I'm working on now, along with my stuff. Jesus, take the wheel. Look at that. That's Jesus, take the wheel. That's exactly what that is. I hear Carrie Underwood singing right now. Oh, there's one more here. I don't know this channel. Joe said, do either of you watch the Living Waters YouTube channel? He's a great evangelist. I've never heard of that before.
I think I've heard of it, but I've never watched it.
But I'll tell you what, I'll check it out, though.
I think I've heard somebody talk about it before. So, yeah, I'll check that out.
Living Waters. In fact, really quick, I can bring it up on another screen, the channel itself, in case someone else wants to watch it at some point. Oh, it says we're live. Well, I knew that. Living Waters. Let's see if that channel pops up. And it's got a lot of subscribers. Here we are, and this is got to be it. Let me share the screen here. Share the right screen. There we are. And that's what it looks like. And here, just for you, Joe. There we are. I'll check it out. Joe's been right about the Robertsons. Joe's been right about Matt Slick. I trust Joe. He's right.
You think he's going to be right on that too?
Well, it's just like Joe to go 3 for 3. So we're going to see what happens. All right, but I'm going to take that off of there. That's it. Living Waters on YouTube. And he's got quite a few subscribers too. So he must be doing a good job attracting people. And we're going to see. All right.
Man, wrap it up. Take us out.
I was something I was going to say, and I don't remember what it was, because as soon as I went to Living Waters, it like went out of my brain. Oh, I don't know, but I do want to talk about some of the, like, how the pastors convey messages, and not necessarily like I think it's right or wrong, but the ways that I would do it, maybe the ways that reach me better, or people like me, and then you could tell what you like the best. I do remember what I was going to tell you. I was down at my shop, and I have there's like an auto version of the Alexa that goes in your car. So I took it out of my car and I plugged it into my Roby speaker. Hold on a second. I plugged it into my Roby speaker, and I said, I want to hear The Real World by Alan Jackson. So I said, play Real World by Alan Jackson, but it didn't get my message. And it said shuffling songs by Alan Jackson. So that's what it does whenever it doesn't hear you, but it heard Alan Jackson, I guess. Yeah. And the first song it played was How Great Thou Art by Alan Jackson. And it started playing. I was like, well, what is this? And he goes, and it starts singing. I said, this is fantastic. I played it like 10 times in a row. I put it on repeat. I thought it was fantastic. And if someone hadn't checked it out, I would say check that song out. It is. I know the song, but I never heard him sing it before. It was really good.
See, and I just find, a lot of people would look at that and go, well, that's just a coincidence. I don't look at that as a coincidence. Here you are, getting back into the Bible, trying to do the right thing. You're making changes in your life. Other people are seeing changes in your life. And then it just randomly goes to a song like that because you said Alan Jackson. Think of all the hundreds of songs it could have went to by you saying Alan Jackson. And it goes to a Christian song, goes to an old hymn.
I've never heard him sing it before, ever.
And to me, that's not a coincidence, man. That just tells me you keep doing what you're doing.
You know what? I'll take that. That sounds like good. That didn't occur to me. I like the song, but when you say that, that makes a lot of sense to me. So yeah. Well, am I ending the show as well? Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, you end it.
And just real quick before we end it. So Alexa, is it pure evil? Hold on. Alexa, are you pure evil?
Sorry, I'm not sure.
Oh, that sounds like pure evil to me. She's just dodging the question.
Yeah. You're not sure? That's kind of like saying you're people of faith.
I hope you get elected, Alexa. Oh, all right, guys. Well, I really appreciate it. I know Justin does. On the screen here, I'm going to put up our email if you have any ideas for what you think we should talk about, or maybe you've heard us talk about something and maybe it's not quite right. Maybe we got it wrong on the Bible, or maybe something we should read. Email that to us. That'd be awesome if you would do that. I know that a lot of times we're just two guys, so we're going to get plenty of stuff wrong and we're going to get some stuff right. So if there's something you get right that we might have got wrong, or something you think we ought to talk about that we haven't, please do send that email. That would be really cool. I know that Justin feels the same way, man.
I do.
See, I told you he did. There's the email right there. menwithissuespodcast@gmail.com. I'm going to hit my special button in just a second. I want to thank you guys for coming out. If you enjoyed the stream, put a like on it. If you have a comment, whether it be negative, positive, or in between, go ahead and put a comment down, not in the live chat, not just in the live chat, but also below the video in the regular comment section. And we can look at those and then we can discuss them next week if it's something we need to discuss. So don't hesitate to do that. It helps us out a lot. I don't know about you, Justin, but it's nice when people interact and give you ideas because it opens up different doors you don't think about.
Absolutely.
Yep. All right. Well, on behalf of Justin, I am Zach Scioto. That's Justin Beaver. Oh, look, you added your last name. I just noticed that. I'm sorry I didn't notice that earlier. Man, look at that. Now we're all matching and stuff like that with our blue bubbles.
I was prepared for once.
I don't think that it was you weren't prepared. I think we just had two different ideas on what we were going to write down. You can make an argument for it. Zach made it too formal. All right, guys.
Nothing wrong with
it. All right, guys. Just remember, we'll be back here next Sunday night to talk about the same sort of thing. We're going to talk about Bible, current events, and how they work together. And like I said, make a comment out there, like the video, and we'll see you next week.